Hello, more about autism. I wanted to tell you a little bit about life for the siblings. Now, I'm not a sibling of a special needs person, so I can't really talk about what it feels like to be the sibling, but I can talk about what it's been like watching the siblings growing up. So Kieran is very severely autistic, which meant that we've had quite a lot of behaviours to deal with and manage over the years. And he would have some quite extreme meltdowns when he was small. He has some quite extreme meltdowns now, but we're not out in the community. And it's when you're in the community that it's like quite significant. So Kieran, at 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, could suddenly become very distressed in the community, which would present itself with him hitting his head, pulling my hair, trying to scratch me, trying to bite me, and really not coping or tolerating his environment, which is all to do with sensory processing. And I think one thing that's really, really important that we always have to keep in our mind is any behaviour is communication. So it's not bad behaviour, and we really need as a society to move away from the fact that they're acting out, they're playing up, they're not behaving well, you can't control them as the parent. It's none of that. It's a communication to let us know that their world isn't working, and it's our responsibility to make things better for them because they're not managing to make it better themselves. And I think really it's so important that we're mindful of that. Now, obviously, when Kieran was very small and having these meltdowns, I didn't completely understand what was going on. It was all very new for me. And I was heartbroken. And I was just trying to get on with things. And Kieran would suddenly, in the middle of a shop or in the middle of the street, something sort of explode. But he was small, so I could sit on the ground and I would cross my legs and I would put his bottom in between the cross of my legs, and I could put my arms around him and I would put my thumb into his little tiny hands and I would hold his hand in my hand. That would stop him scratching. It would also stop him trying to, pulling my hair, and I could hold him and keep him safe until he calmed down. And I think what I learned quite early on was it was really, really important for me to be calm and not react, because if I was calm and he could feel my heart was slow and steady with his back, it would help calm him. Initially, that isn't how things were. Initially, I would not be calm. I would be very stressed and anxious and not know how to manage what was going on. And it was very, very, it was awful. And people would stare at us and you give us that look like I'm a bad parent. I don't know what I'm doing. Surely I should be, doing something to control him. And I was angry. I was angry about the autism, and I was angry that people were staring at me, and I was upset and confused. I didn't know what to do, and I would shout at people to stop staring at us. And that's life. And there's no I'm not excusing what I was doing. I'm explaining what I was doing because it was really difficult, actually. But while all of this is going on, me with my outbursts, Kieran with his outbursts, me trying to manage Kieran, keep him calm. And as things went on, I did learn very quickly to be calm and not have these outbursts at other people and not look at other people, very much block other people out. My whole focus was just on Kieran and Daniel, of course, because Daniel was with us. But I've got Kieran and I'm calm. You need to calm. And then we'd wait. And it could take half an hour. It could take an hour, sitting there, waiting, rest of the world milling about with their opinions. And Daniel. So if Kieran was 4, Daniel was 3. If Kieran was 8, Daniel was 7. If Kieran was 11, Daniel was 10. All of his life, his entire life, he's been stared at by people passing by with their opinions, with that look. And that's very, very negative for him. To be the centre of attention has always been a very negative experience for him. It's not comfortable for him, and it's not nice for him. And it impacted on his ability to be more vocal in sort of a public setting, right? The classroom. He wouldn't put his hand up. He doesn't want to be the centre of attention. He went to a Catholic primary school. He managed to go through the whole of that school without ever taking the offertory up, doing a reading, saying a bidding prayer, any of the masses. And although I constantly said to his teachers, can you please encourage him? You know, he needs a little bit more support. They knew Kieran, they knew our circumstances, and I do feel very strongly they could have done a little bit more to help him, but that was then. This is now. He's 17, he's grand, you know, he's fine, thankfully. But I do think that if you know a sibling of a person like Kieran, you could do a little bit more. You could just be a little bit more thoughtful. I was working in a primary school until recently, and I was talking to one of the boys in my class about Kieran's primary school, and he said to me, oh, my brother goes to that school. And I said, oh, does he? And he said, yes. I said, oh, because it's an autistic specific environment. I said to him, oh, does your brother have autism? And he said, yes. And I said, oh, you know, what's that like at home? And he said, oh, well, he doesn't sleep, and he takes our toys and he takes our food, and we all have to be quiet. And, you know, he was explaining a lot of the circumstances that are very similar to us. And we didn't know at school. And because I said to our Senko and our head, did you realise? And no, and they didn't know because the family hadn't told us. It's really important that if you're in a school, you know the children in your classroom, because all of Kieran's life he has really bad sleeping habits. And when he was very small, he might sleep for 2 hours and he'd be awake the rest of the night. And even now, it's quite normal for Kieran to be wandering around all night. And he has to have an adult with him. He needs to be looked after. And it doesn't matter how hard you try, when you've got another person awake, it's going to impact on the rest of the family. So whereas like I would be up with Kieran, it would wake Daniel up, of course it would. And then Daniel would be tired at school. And I've been really keen so that all his teachers know all the way through that if he seems like switched off, or he's not engaging, or if he seems really tired, and it might be just because he's a teenager, right? But it could be because he's been up all night with his brother. Not necessarily physically with him, but if Kieran's up and screaming and shouting, you can guarantee the rest of us, we're up. Everybody's up. It's just what it's like. So I keep trying to stress to people, know who's in your classroom. Your child at school, one of their friends, one of their classmates might have a sibling like Kieran who, because of the autism in the family, doesn't get invited to places. There's been so many things along the way that I haven't been able to take Daniel to because of Kieran. And I've often thought to myself, I wish somebody would offer to take him for me. I mean, everybody knows. Why won't somebody take him for me? Why won't somebody just pick up the phone and say, we know that you can't go with Kieran. Would you like us to take Daniel? Because I would have grabbed that opportunity with both hands. I said, please do take him for me. And to be fair, he did get taken to quite a lot of things. A lot of people have been really helpful. But I just wished sometimes that they'd been more aware. And I'm not judging people. And I completely get it and understand. Why would you want somebody else's kid tagging along with you all the time, right? You've got your family to look after. But for the siblings, Everybody's focused on the child with the special needs. Everybody's focused on their interventions. Everybody's focused on developing their mental well-being and making sure that their needs are met, which is fabulous. What about the siblings? What about them? What about the impact on their lives? What about the fact that they're constantly giving up so much, selflessly giving things up? They don't even know they're doing it. And there's this whole army of young people who are going to be in our society who have been so selfless all their life, and they're not going to judge in the same way. They're not going to be giving this look to families who are having a child with a meltdown, because they know. And they're brilliant, brilliant members of society. They're fantastic. All of that's coming now. The older Kieran gets, the more adults that we get with autism in our society, the more people that need looking after. There's this army of siblings and cousins who are going to be there looking out for them. Great. But we need to look out for the siblings as well. They've given up a lot, selflessly, always giving up a lot for their brothers and sisters who have those extra needs. So today's message is look after the siblings. Really do look after the siblings, because they're fantastic. They're really amazing people. Okay, thank you. God bless.